Hey guys, Torcus here. So we've now looked at all the cards for all the other regions for Cosmic Creation, the new expansion for Legends of Runeterra. The last region to look at is Noxus with Riven, the new champion for their region. So let's hop right into it and check out these new cards. So Riven is a 3-mana 3/4. When you gain the attack token, Reforge. Reforge is this new keyword for Noxus, which has a lot to do with this Blade of Exile, which, as you see, it says, I see Blade of Exile in your hand. That's when she levels up. Once she levels up, she is a 4/5, and when my power is increased, for the first time each round, increase it by twice as much. So that has some major possibilities. You can think of something as small as Elixir of Wrath doing +6 attack for 1 mana. Especially if you can give Overwhelm to Riven, that would be totally nuts. And it will definitely be very possible to make that happen. So Reforge is the keyword that lets you create these different sword fragments. You get all 3 of them one at a time. It will always give you the ones that you don't have yet when you're trying to do it. So if you have the heavy blade fragment already, you will either get the keen blade fragment or the glinting blade fragment instead before you actually get the heavy blade fragment again, if you continue to reforge after you've gotten all the pieces already. But each of them have a different effect. The heavy blade fragment gives an ally Overwhelm this round. These are all 1 mana burst spells that can't be cast in combat. The keen one gives you quick attack, and the glinting one gives you +2 attack. Once they have all been played, then the Blade of Exile is created, which is 3 mana slow speed spell, which grants an ally +2 attack, overwhelm, and quick attack. So all of the pieces are 1 mana each. They all give you this effect for 1 round. This one, slow but grant, and all 3 combined. So the idea of it kind of makes sense. You're bringing together these pieces, you're giving these stats and stuff. It's a pretty cool idea. So Riven being able to reforge just by gaining the attack token, you're kind of just chilling, getting this reforge happening on a regular basis, not really having to do much to make it happen. You're probably going to want to play a few other cards that reforge along the way to try and level her up. But her being a 3-mana 3/4, it's already not super necessary that you're going crazy trying to reforge too quickly. And once you do reforge, her snowball potential is nuts. Especially given that you will have the Blade of Exile in hand when she levels up. It's pretty likely that you're going to play it on her, and at that point, she has Overwhelm and Quick Attack, and she's getting +4 attack if that's the first thing that you're going to buff her attack with. Maybe you want to do something else. But either way, you can just keep buffing her, and that Overwhelm is going to mean that you can really push for lethal, try to finish the game out with her. Given that she's such a cheap unit that you can play early on and has a really strong stat line, you're not losing much if you don't get to have her go off, but if you do, it will happen relatively early in the game, and it lends to a very good aggressive strategy. The whole idea of the blade fragments also works really well with Victor, I'd say. So there's some possibility that you could do Riven and Victor, and in my opinion, I think Victor will also be a pretty aggressive strategy as well. So in my opinion, I think it's hard to say whether Victor or Riven is going to be the stronger champion. I think they both look really, really good. I think, though, Riven is just super non-committal, almost like Trundle in how easy her level up is. You don't really have to worry too much about reforging a lot. You just might want to play a few reforged cards here and there. But otherwise, I think you could fit her into a lot of decks and you wouldn't feel bad about it, just because her stat line's so good. So for that reason, I think Riven's flexibility makes her probably the better champion, I'd say. I think either way, both Victor and Riven are both going to see a lot of play in the coming expansion. So then her champ spell is 2 mana burst speed, weapons hilt, give an ally +2 attack this round, and reforge. So it's +2 attack for 2 mana, not especially good. That is more of a 1 mana effect, but you do have the upside of the reforge. The reforge is getting you closer to the level up for the Riven, and it's also giving you these extra 1 mana spells, which combined with all this stuff could end up being more worth. Like, to say that it's 2 extra attack and overwhelm for 3, 2 extra attack and quick attack for 3, 2 extra attack and another 2, so +4 for 3. That's pretty sweet. Obviously, that might not be what you do. You might want to do this in combat, like use it as a combat trick. Those other ones aren't usable as combat tricks. But it's entirely possible for you to just burst speed this, burst speed that, and combine the stats and then go in for an attack as well. I don't especially think it's super strong, but I think it would still probably be worth in a deck where you are playing Riven. None of the reforged cards are super strong either way, and having a combat trick is always nice to have. Normally you want health, health is better, but being able to trade out in a uneven trade just by adding the extra attack can be worth it sometimes. So I think that it will be a pretty good option in Riven decks. We have Blade Squire, 1 mana, 1/2, Last Breath, Reforge. So it's not a especially good body for 1 mana, but it's not bad. You can play it down. You do kind of want it to die anyways, so it having the extra health doesn't really matter. It does mean that it won't get pinged down necessarily. It will probably get to block something. But in the case where like you're blocking a spider, you might be like, I kind of want the fragment right now. It might have been a little bit too good if it was summon effect, so that's probably why they went for the Last Breath. But this is at least something to play on turn 1 that helps you get closer to that reforging idea, and the value that you're getting off of the Blade Fragment can be useful on the next ally that you play, even though this one isn't having the biggest impact when you play it. I think it's still worth having in one of these Riven decks. I think it's definitely not going to blow anyone out of the water, but it's definitely a decent inclusion in such a deck. Then we have Rune Weaver, 2 mana, 3/1, when I'm summoned Reforge. So she's got 1 health. That's definitely a big downside, but does have the summon effect of reforging, so that is faster. Could potentially let you use that the Blade Fragment immediately. I think that her relatively aggressive stat line does lend well towards either giving her Overwhelm or Quick Attack right off the bat with these Blade Fragments, so it's not too bad that she is like that, aside from the fact that, 1 damage removal isn't especially uncommon right now with Go Hard out there. But either way, if you want to get those Blade Fragments, you will need to play Reforge cards. So this is a faster option than the 1-drop. I think probably you're just running all of them, all 3 of the Reforge options. But we'll see as it goes along. It doesn't take very many to make the Blade of Exile, so it might not be crazy to run less copies of this kind of stuff. But again, definitely these reforged cards aren't super strong. The big payoff is going to be once you finish that Blade of Exile, especially if you have Riven. Then we have Sharpened Resolve. It is a 3-mana burst speed spell. Give an ally +3/+2 this round. So comparing this to Sharp Sight is 1 more mana for 1 more attack, and you don't get to block elusives. Definitely doesn't look great compared to that, but we are in Noxus, so you might be a little bit too strong if you're having Demacia-esque buffs in Noxus and such, especially with the amount of Overwhelm and things like that that you do see in Noxus, burn type stuff, all that kind of thing. That's not really a Demacia type of idea. So having it be a little weaker is fine. And I think that with that synergy in mind, the fact that you do have a more aggressive region in Noxus, I think that it being as powerful it is definitely going to be enough. I think that this card will see play, probably with Riven for sure, because of the fact that you do get quite a lot of attack off of it that way. But just in general, in tempo-based Noxus decks, I can see this seeing play. Maybe if you pair with Demacia, you'll feel a little bad, but we don't see a lot of Demacia Noxus decks these days, or any previous days either. So I think it's a decent buff. I think it's not so bad that you wouldn't run it. Sharp Sight is a really good card, so this being slightly worse than it wouldn't be that bad. So I'm definitely saying that this will see some play in some tempo Noxus decks. Then we have Survival Instincts, 5 mana slow speed spell. Allies can't drop below 1 health this round. When discarded, your strongest ally can't drop below 1 health this round. Now that is a card. So obviously 5 mana, allies can't drop below 1 health this round. It's relatively expensive. It's quite slow because it's slow. Like, you can have your opponents remove your stuff before it goes off and everything like that. That's not the greatest effect, but there are situations where you might want that. However, I think that why it will see play is because of this discard effect, because then you can do burst speed, counter everything like that. It's going to be totally nuts in a discard deck. You can do something like Draven Axe, you give something extra attack, you might even swing which ally is the strongest ally by doing that, and then it won't be able to die that round. That would be nuts. You put your axe on your Draven, suddenly as the combat is happening, he can't die that round because of the health not dropping below. Obviously you can still die to stuff like Vengeance, Ruination, stuff like that, but any damage-based removal, any follower combat and stuff like that, this is going to be so strong, and it will be hard for your opponent to play around it. They kind of just got to play into it a lot of the time. As long as they expect you to have any discard cards to hit off of. So basically, as long as you don't have like one card in your hand, being this card, then most of the time you are going to be really scared having to commit anything into their stuff when this could just suddenly save their lives and stuff like that. Obviously this will work really well keeping your champions alive because they're generally going to be the strongest allies, but also like your big overwhelm guy. Either way, I think this will definitely fit into discard aggro and make it more formidable than it already is. You might not be able to run too many just because they are big and clunky, and you do need to discard them or else you're going to struggle trying to find the best way to use it. But I definitely think that discard effect is going to be very good in these discard aggro decks. And the rest of these cards are the like hunter type stuff, because they're hunting down Riven. She's ran away from Noxus. So we've got Hunt the Weak. This is a 2-mana slow speed spell. Your opponent discards the weakest follower in hand. So this is the first time we've ever been able to make an opponent discard cards. We did have one Bilgewater card, lets you steal a card from their hand. But this is a pretty big deal, I think. It is the weakest follower, so you'd assume probably the least impactful follower. But there will be decks where you have one follower in mind that you know that your opponent will have, and this could counter it straight up. Just get it out of there. Against slower decks, this could hit really big followers sometimes, and they lose huge value, huge bombs that they really needed to win with. So this has the potential to do really impactful stuff. When it low rolls, even then, it's still only 2 mana. So if you like drop a card, drop 2 mana just to get rid of one of their cards that's about the same amount, 2 mana, it's not a huge deal. Clearly they weren't going to get to play it anyways because you're getting rid of it, so you're committing more tempo to it. But based on what the card is, you could really ruin their strategy, and the ability to destabilize strategies like that could be really strong. I just think, generally speaking, I don't think we'll see a lot of this off the bat. I think that it's a little bit too situational based on which hand state, which deck you're playing against, all these things, on whether it'll really do much at all. Especially against like aggro decks, them losing one drop out of their hand isn't going to do much to them at all. But I think there will certainly be some metas where this could be really nuts, and I think that when that does happen, people will be running this in their Noxus decks. Especially like slower decks, Swain decks, and stuff like that. You're not going to be putting this into a discard aggro deck or anything, obviously. That's more about discarding your own stuff. But the fact that this concept has entered the game is certainly an interesting idea, and we'll have to see how it pans out. Then we have Brutal Hunter, 4 mana, 3/3 challenger. When I'm summoned, give me quick attack this round. So, quick attack and challenger are a great combo together. You get to grab one of their units and not take an attack back at you when it happens, as long as they don't end up getting buffed out of range of your kill range any longer. But if they don't, then this looks really good. You could buff this and it will be able to take out some pretty big stuff, but 4 mana for 3/3 quick attack challenger on its own is already quite good. You could take out another 3/3 no problem, and then still have the body around, which is still a challenger, still able to remove more stuff. This looks really good as like a mid-range aggro counter, able to take out just those like 3-ish mana bodies, and that seems like it will be very good. You could also like combine this with overwhelm buffs and stuff, and then take out things, get some stats over the top. So definitely looks really good. I think it will absolutely see play in some decks. Probably quite a few decks. Just having that quick attack and challenger together is just such a good combination. Then we have Wrathful Rider, 5 mana, 7/3 challenger. So that's a really awkward stat line. Clearly, 3 health is not great on a 5 mana body. However, it is quite a lot of damage to deal. On 5 mana, being able to take out something that has 7 health could be a lot. You could also combine this with Overwhelm again, and you're going maybe attack a 1 health spider. You got 10 attack Overwhelm, and you end up dealing 9 damage to their face. That is a big swingy thing that you can do. It's quite a bit better than doing the 7 mana 7/4 with Overwhelm and Challenger. You do need a little bit of setup, but it might be possible for you to do that. Generally speaking, I think this is still not going to be great, but you never know. It could eventually find a place in a meta where there's not a lot of 3 damage removal running around. It's just that if there is, it's really weak. It'll die a lot easier than you'd like. Well, you'll never know. We'll have to see how it ends up in the future. I don't think it's impossible that it'll see play at some point, but initially it probably won't. And then our last card is Arel the Tracker. 6 mana, 2/5, and at the round end, if you cast a spell on me this round, I strike the weakest enemy. So that is a one-sided strike. It strikes it and it is not retaliated against. Just being able to take out some 2 health units sometimes seems plenty good enough. Like, obviously you're not getting much of a body left over, but the fact that it's going to keep doing that every turn, even if it's just whittling down the health of something larger, that's fine too. Clearly you have to cast a spell for it to happen first though, so we're probably going to give it attack or something of that sort. So if you gave it a Elixir of Wrath, that's 5 attacks suddenly. You can take out 5 health units if that's the weakest thing they have on their board. Playing a 6 mana 2/5 and then taking out a 5 mana unit or 5 health unit for free, and then still having the ability to remove more things in the future, that is a really big play. So I can see this being like a removal engine on its own. It'll fit in a lot of different decks. Riven with the sword fragments, you can throw those on here and that'll work really well. You can use the glinting fragment and then it's dealing 4 and it only costs you 1 mana, and you're working towards building the sword and such. So this one looks really strong. I'm excited to even just try and make decks all around this, like just carrying the game. So I really like it. I think whether it fits in a Riven deck is one thing, but I think it'll definitely fit into some decks at least. I'm excited to try it out. So that's going to be it for this video. That's all of the Cosmic Creation cards. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it. Comment down below what you think of these new cards. And please subscribe if you'd like to see more of my content in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.